Hello. Anyway, welcome to Funny Side Up. I am Jackson Wade.
I am Will, Big Boss Will.
Yeah.
And I, Colin, again.
Colin is back.
I'm back.
With a working microphone this time.
Yeah.
We didn't bring Colin back because the episode
like him, but like...
No, I was going to say we brought him back because we wanted him back, not because his episode was shit.
Yeah.
But the contents weren't shit. The audio was shit. But no politics this time.
No politics.
Just Colin.
Just me.
Yeah.
Which Colin without politics, is that possible?
It's bland. It's my only personality is my political beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really a way to live?
Yes.
Anyone making their like single personality trait something like about them is like
it's
the worst kind of person.
Absolutely.
Like Jackson has his music, but that's not his like one personality trait.
No, for sure.
I tend to do that with minor things here and there, like
just little stunts.
JoJo.
Yeah. JoJo, the podcast. I'll be like, which I'm very careful who I like mention the podcast to, but I will be like, hey, I run a podcast.
The meta thing again. We're talking about the podcast.
Okay, podcast. We're not going to talk about it. But I'm just saying, like, it is something that I'll bring up to people just as like a thing. I work at a hospital. That's my personality trait right now. But no, yeah, we wanted to have Colin back because we missed him, and
we missed you guys.
I've worked every single day since the last episode.
Yeah,
and now I'm off for a week, so I won't work at all until the next episode. But here we are. I'm going ahead and pulling out the mythical notepad because we had no plans at all.
Do you want me to? I can tell the homeless guy story if you'd like.
Yeah. We already did
the revision.
It was a lot of it was wrong.
Okay. Well, revised version.
No, well, to be fair, pretty much everything I told you was like me. I was terrified, thinking I was about to be killed, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was at a gas station in Southern California. A good old SoCal. And
which is where we are from.
Where we are from, SoCal. All of us. SoCal, yeah. Everyone is from SoCal. Even you.
Even me, as though like I'm the odd one out.
I'm talking about the
listener.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
SoCal is a fourth dimensional area.
Yeah. But I'm in this gas station getting some gum, right? And there's this guy in there with a Minecraft creeper backpack, and I'm like, hey, that's interesting. I wanted to bring it up to him, like, hey, nice bag, but I didn't.
Just insult him.
Dude, you're like, nice bag, dickhead.
He was 28.
Oh, dude, I figured he
wasn't even like an old guy. He was pretty young.
Did he look old?
I just had the idea that he was an older guy.
He looked like late 30s, maybe.
Describe the suspect.
No, I'm pretty sure he's on the run. I'm not doing that.
About 5'10".
See, that was mentioned last time. That he was on the lam.
But it wasn't like exactly accurate, I don't think. But anyways, so so I walk out, I get in my car, I'm about to drive off, and Jackson said I approached this guy and asked if he needed a ride, but this guy actually came up to my car and motioned for me to roll down the window. So I roll it down a bit because I don't want him reaching in. You never know, people are crazy, especially in this part of SoCal.
Especially you. But yeah, continue.
You're a real threat.
I carry.
He's a menace to society.
But this guy's like, can I pay you to give me a ride? I say,
sounds like a sexual fate.
I look him up and down.
Oh, like, yeah, you do. Continue, Colin.
I
slowly unbuckle.
Yeah, you can pay me, big boy.
Joke's on you. I don't wear a belt. I only exclusively wear I only exclusively wear sweatpants.
He unties his sweatpants. Is what he's saying.
Joke's on you. I don't tie them either.
Neither do I. Wink, wink. I'm hinting at how Colin came back on the podcast after his last episode.
No.
He just hit him.
Soon I'll replace you, Jackson.
If it's good enough.
I don't gotta suck no dicks.
There's a power dynamic.
But I say, do you have a gun? I'm like, do you have a gun on you? He's like, no.
He winks.
he like pulls out everything out of his pockets, like folds his pockets out or whatever. And
Colin's like, what about in the Minecraft bag?
no, he sees me eye the bag. I don't have to mention it. He turns it around, unzips it, shows me in. He unzips like the other part of it, shows me in. I see like 2 little points. I'm like, he sees me eye them, and he's like, oh. He pulls out these 2 needles.
Yeah.
I assume are heroin needles, and he says, oh yeah, I do drugs. I'll get rid of these. And he tosses them in the trash can, like at the gas station.
What a kind young man.
What a guy.
Informing you that he does drugs.
He's like, he hasn't even had confirmation that I'll give him a ride yet, so he could have just thrown away heroin for no reason.
He would have just grabbed it. Like, it's not like it matters.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, was it like full?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I would assume that
Okay.
Heroin's expensive.
No, okay. Have y'all ever watched Pulp Fiction? Because I was actually like, my friend posted some pictures she did for her. It was like a photography class or something, and they very much had the like energy of Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, specifically the scene where Vincent Vega, played by John Travolta, he does heroin, and it's like the whole, like, it's powder that you do on the spoon and then you use the needle.
Right.
So if I had to guess,
there was nothing in it.
Yeah, there's nothing in it.
Yeah, but so the guy's like, "Can I pay to give me a ride now?" I'm like, yeah, I'll give you a ride, but I don't want you to pay me. Run in there and get me a pack of cigarettes." He's like, "What kind?" I'm like, "I don't give a shit." Because I actually looked while I was in there, and they pretty much only had menthols.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. I wanted American Spirits, which they didn't have, unfortunately. But
Colin's a sophisticated man.
I got some Sonomas, Sonoma 100s, so decent burn time.
Yeah.
But so the guy gets in my car. I'm like, "Where you need to go?" He says, "I need you to give me a ride to the pharmacy down the road, and then I need a ride to my aunt's house." I'm like, "Okay." So while I'm driving, we get to talking. This was a really smart guy. He asked me if I had plans for my life, and I'm like, yeah.
Because he was gonna kill him. If you didn't answer yes, he was gonna kill you.
Maybe. I'm like, yeah, I'd like to go. Not exactly, but I have a vague idea that I'd like to go to college for either and major in either philosophy or political science.
And he was like,
So
"Oh,
like,
good answer."
he said you're a waste of your fucking money.
He says, "Oh, that's good. You shouldn't be going into any of this. Or I'm glad you're not going into any of this computer shit."
Mm.
Which
Jackson hit the kick rocks. Jackson
kick rocks, buddy.
So what you're telling me is, if I picked up this dude, then I would be dead right now.
Maybe.
You wouldn't have a pack of cigarettes. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But this guy was actually going to college.
Knuckles.
This guy was going to college for something like computer science or something in that field.
Oh, and that's why you said that. He is
he
a
dropped
distaste.
out to start cooking meth.
So it's not my fault. He's a fucking idiot.
No, he dropped out of college because he wasn't enjoying it to start cooking meth, and so
That's an enjoyable thing. I mean, Walter
talking
White
about
did
how
something
cooking
similar.
Meth ruined. He was talking about how cooking meth ruined his life, like getting all emotional about it, and I feel really bad about this now because I should have been like, "Oh, it's okay" or whatever. But he's like, "Yeah, cooking meth ruined my life," and I turned to him like, "Have you ever seen Breaking Bad?"
He said, "No, man, I haven't had a TV in years."
Bad, but he said he's been asked that several times.
He's like tearing up, and you're like, "Dude, you remind me of Wall."
Was he bald by any chance?
No. But yeah, he gets really philosophical. I genuinely consider this guy a philosopher. He was really smart.
A modern day Diogenes.
More of a modern day Max Stirner.
Diogenes nuts. I don't know who Diogenes is, but y'all were talking about him.
Well, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
After the story.
I understand.
And so I take him to the pharmacy. Yeah. Then we're going to his aunt's house, and we start talking about like how shitty life is. We talk about how neither of us believe in a I guess a higher power or whatever you want to call it.
They're atheists.
Yeah. And he says, so we start talking about like morality and stuff, and then we move on to drugs.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
It's the natural
We talk about pot and stuff, and then I'm like, I think I'll stick mostly to like pot and psychedelics and stuff. I don't think I want to move on to anything bad like heroin or meth. And he's like,
you point at him and you're like, ugh.
and he's like, well, good and bad are subjective statements. It's all a social construct, which is a very which I noticed is a very egoist philosophy, sort of ideology. And he says, some people may think it's bad that I strangled my best friend to death, but I think it was a good thing.
I think he was talking about Lord of the Rings. Y'all don't get the reference?
I don't.
Man, I need to show y'all. Smeagol, the Gollum, you know, my I can't.
I'm familiar with Smeagol.
Yes, he kills his cousin over the ring, and that's how he like actually obtains it. So,
well, yeah, he's like, some people think it's bad that I strangled my best friend to death, but I think it was a good thing. And I'm like, I don't want to be like, oh, you're a piece of shit, because this guy's in the car with me,
yeah.
and he could probably strangle my ass.
Did you ask him why?
No, but he did say why. He said, like, so, I was like, oh, yeah. I'm just driving, like, yeah.
Don't say.
And you don't say. And he's like, yeah, but the son of a bitch slept with my wife.
I mean, it's
Oldest tale in the book.
so he deserved it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's shitty. He's like, yeah, but I also beat the shit out of my wife.
oh yeah, not a good guy.
So, like, this is just a story full of fucking antagonists. There's
No good guys here. It's all from my narrator perspective.
I was gonna say, like, even from his perspective, like, he's probably not telling any lie. Like, I mean, he said that he beat his wife. He could have omitted that.
Yeah.
But so he probably, which he doesn't think it did. He probably didn't think that was wrong either.
Well, so this guy,
Which, I mean, she did sleep with.
yeah,
did know it
he
was
he
wrong.
okay, so he
But-
didn't. Well, no, he didn't believe in an objective morality. Which, like I said, I don't know if either of you are familiar with Max Stirner's philosophy of egoism, but that's the general premise of that, is that stuff like morality doesn't exist. It's all a social construct. And
Is this politics?
it's not. It's philosophy.
yeah, I know.
But yeah, this, and so we're talking about all that shit. It gets really philosophical. This guy's actually cool as fuck in terms of conversation.
Not
strangling
I
his
don't
best friend to death.
support him
My grandmother
strangling
is
his best
sleeping.
friend and beating the shit out of his wife.
She's asleep.
Okay, my bad.
See, when you say it like that, you sound like whoever the fuck was just like, Hitler did a lot of bad things, but you know what he did right?
He did art. That's what he did right.
No,
That's separating the art from the artist.
I feel like that's like,
The meth cooker, the meth that he cooked is separate from the crimes he committed.
The murder of his best friend.
Yeah.
you're calling him an artist.
I mean, is making meth not an art?
I feel like it can be.
No, it's not. It is a crime.
No, okay, look. See, that's weird because we talked about whether, like, what different art forms are. He's expressing
Would
himself.
you consider baking an art?
To some degree, yeah, but like,
Then why is cooking meth not an art?
because there is very limited creative expression in that. You are trying to create chemicals. I think
I
it's
don't care.
it's closer to a job than it is like.
But can a job not be an art
It
form?
it can be, but they are still
Uh-huh.
separate things.
Let us know in the
So-
comments whether or not cooking meth is an art.
Okay, honestly, like, we've had discussions over what art is.
Yeah,
And I think that would fall into art, depending on your view of it.
I agree.
I think if you're doing it, like, okay, Jesse Pinkman, yeah, he's
like, you're a
put
goddamn artist.
No, he put chili powder in it.
Yeah.
That was his expression of himself.
Yeah, well, first of all, that's goofy as hell, and Walter told me it was goofy as hell because it is.
Yeah. But
that
it's
doesn't
art.
change the fact that it's art.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to write a rebuttal to this before the next episode. So
Okay, that's fine. We'll have Colin on next
I will
week.
give you a full fucking thesis.
We'll do a special episode of the podcast where it's just me and Jackson debating whether or not cooking meth is an art for half an hour.
I'll be sitting there, like, saying yes or no. I'll be giving
He'll be
points.
the moderator.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone in the
Moderator
comment
and fact
section,
checker.
everyone in the comment section, you better root for me because if you don't, then you're the bad guy. I'm just gonna say that.
Because Colin is the guest and Jackson is the regular co-host.
Yeah,
so
For
he's
now, he is.
yeah for now. Yeah,
For now,
Yeah.
Colin gives
I will
good
kill
head.
both of you motherfuckers.
I'm
I
just
do
kidding.
not care.
But,
I'll run this podcast on my own.
Anyways, so,
Oh, yeah?
when I get this guy to his aunt's house, he gets out of the car and he says, "Hey, can I get your phone number?" I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. So I give it to him. Why not? And he calls me, so I save his number. I'm like, okay, cool. See ya, brother. He says, see ya. He like leans in for a fist bump. And
then he stabs
as
you.
he walks away, he says, I believe everyone meets for a reason. And he just walks away. I'm like, what the fuck? So
You're gonna convert him to your religion.
Colinology.
Yeah. Colonoscopy. hey fella, come here.
Colonoscopy.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy was interesting. He was very anti-authority, very individualist kind of guy. Very like, I'll do whatever I want and no one can stop me. No one can tell me whether or not it's right or wrong. He was a really interesting guy. But so as I'm driving home, I call, so when I'm with this guy, I texted like 3 different people while he's in the pharmacy. If I don't call you by like 6:30 or whatever, call the police. This is where I am. This is what the guy looks like, or this is the guy's bag. I'm probably been kidnapped.
It's a Minecraft bag.
Yeah, I actually sent Jackson a picture of the creeper bag. Yeah, because he left it in my car when he went to into the pharmacy.
So, I'm offended you didn't text me.
I didn't.
But
I don't think I had.
You
I don't
have my
think
number.
you two were that close of friends by that point.
Yeah.
Were we not? I thought it was after the podcast episode.
It was after the podcast episode, but that's still like not.
After the podcast episode, me and Colin did balloons.
Yeah, we did do
It takes more than 1 game of balloons. It takes 2 games of balloons.
It takes 3.
It takes forming a hate over shoots.
But in conclusion, this guy was really cool, except for the few bad things he did.
Isn't that how everyone is, though?
I suppose. Well, I don't think everyone kills their best
Hitler.
friend and beats their wife.
I want to talk about like his stance on morality, how there's no objective morality. I think that's a fine way to live in moderation. You can't just go around doing whatever you want and saying like, "Oh, I find this okay," because you need to ground yourself somewhere.
Well, okay, if you find that okay, then that's morality.
Okay, so I agree with you there, Jackson. Like where morality may not exist, but it's a damn good thing to have.
Yeah.
Like, going back to egoism, Max Cerner's philosophy. A lot of people misinterpret him and say, so morality doesn't exist, and it's encouraged that I do everything in my own self-interest, because that's what humans tend to do, is work in their own self-interest.
But
so
that
I'm gonna go around murdering people.
In his own self-interest.
And the thing with that is, it's like we have like laws that are based around that, where you can do things that are immoral. You can like cheat on your spouse or whatever, and that's not illegal because that's just immoral. But then there are things where you're actually like stepping over your rights into someone else's when you go to kill somebody. Like that's beyond
Wrong.
morality.
Yeah.
That's, right. Technically not, but you know what I mean. It's like
It's beyond being able to justify, like based on morality.
yeah.
Like, yeah, based on morality, which morality, as this guy said, and as Max Stirner says, is nothing but as Max Stirner would call it, it's a spook, or a social construct.
Yeah.
A ghost in the mind. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, and technically that's true. It is all because there is not a whole lot stopping you from killing someone aside from morality. Because like there are plenty of means of killing people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, guns, knives, whatever. But
it's the fact that you yourself don't push yourself to do it.
I'm not saying like that it's right to, but if you look at certain people, you can probably find a lot of reasons to kill.
Well, yeah. So that's another like form of like in the military, people kill every day.
yeah.
And the objective morality in that situation, it's all justified, quote unquote.
Well,
for
you're talking to the wrong guy if you want me to talk. If you
no, but like you know what I'm saying, right? Like
I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't say anything most militaries do is moral.
that's once again that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Is like I personally I took a bunch of political tests today because I was bored while I was
That I
sitting on
sent
location.
to him.
Yeah. And I'm surprised I didn't land more pacifist. Like I told you, I was like I really feel like us especially need to like stick to ourselves
Right.
and don't like seek out like conflicts and stuff.
What's that thing that Teddy Roosevelt said. It's just like keep quiet and carry a big stick or something like that.
Was that
Yeah.
what it was called?
That sounds about right.
That
Sounds like something he
he'd
would say.
Yeah,
Him
where
or
it was
like
basically
Andrew
like
Jackson or
Yeah.
something.
it was like stay out of World War One. We didn't, and then it was like stay out of World War Two, which we did pretty well. And then
We were just
Pearl Harbor
producing,
happened.
which that was smart. Like we needed money, and that's what
Yeah.
we were
Didn't
doing.
we enter World War II after Germany striked one of our subs?
it was
Or was
after
that
Pearl
one?
Harbor.
No, yeah, we officially entered after Pearl Harbor, but
Right.
there were a couple U-boat incidents that I think were like kind of like ignored to an extent.
Yeah.
But there's also like facts pointing at the that there was knowledge that Pearl Harbor was going to happen,
Yeah.
and there was nothing done to prevent it, so that we would enter like World War II officially.
Yeah, I remember something happened. When it might be the U-boat things that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the population was split over whether or not we should enter war, and then Pearl Harbor happened, and everyone was like just on board with it. Like, yeah, fuck Japan.
Which, you know, I don't know if this was prior to us entering or not, but Germany was in contact with Mexico for a lot of
Oh yeah,
World
the
War II.
Zimmerman telegraph.
Yes. And we intercepted that, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think Great Britain did.
But essentially,
Yeah.
That's what matters.
essentially, it was intercepted, but it was Mexico was like Germany was trying to convince Mexico to invade America,
Mhm.
which I could be wrong, but like since America's creation, there's been very little like war actually happening that has happened on American soil.
Yeah.
So like I assume if that were to happen, that would be like the first actual like big war that's happened in America. Because
Well, I guess we had the Civil War, which
So-
was all on American soil.
yeah, but if you count from outside nations,
Right.
Pearl Harbor happened. That's like one very small thing. The Texas like when Texas was in
Part of
between
Mexico.
America and Mexico,
Yeah.
most of that was fought on the Rio Grande.
Texas like completely independent for a short.
It
time.
was
Yeah.
it was independent during that time, so it wouldn't really be counted as American.
Just its own little area.
What?
He's not speaking into the microphone.
Yeah, speaking of the mic, buddy. But yeah, so it would be like the biggest thing to happen to America in terms of war being fought. Any input? just- I was running out of
Yeah,
line.
I see what you're saying, where it's like because there's so little precedent for us fighting on our own soil, it is considered a pretty big deal. That's why they made a really big deal of 9/11. It's like, these are just people living their lives, and then, we're attacked on our own soil. Like, people take that a whole lot more seriously than whatever the fuck we're doing in the Middle East.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying is like we like to stick our noses in to other countries where we don't need to. Like,
Yeah, and it started all because of communism. Because like
yes, ever
The
since like the
amount
Red
of,
Scare and everything.
The amount of socialist leaders the CIA has overthrown, like secretly, is insane. Because it's
not
so-
do that secretly if you know about
well,
it.
So
obviously not, but like
the war in Vietnam was all over communism. They're like pseudo wars, and I think Metal Gear Solid kind of talks about it here and there, but it's like nations are fighting wars with each other through other countries. Like
Yeah.
the Korean War was fought pretty much between America and China through Korea. It was communist China in the north and American democratic us in the south.
Yeah.
I feel the need to clarify, quote unquote, communist China.
No, I mean back then it was communist China.
China's never been communist.
Okay,
because
well-
communism doesn't have a state.
Let's talk about Chairman Mao. I don't actually know anything about him.
I know that he's not a nice dude.
Oh
but,
yeah.
What do you mean communism doesn't have a
Communism
state?
doesn't have a state. Real communism's never been established because communism is a stateless, moneyless, classless society.
So what would you call Soviet Russia?
State capitalist. They weren't communist. At most, I guess you could say they were state socialist in some form.
Have you ever read Animal Farm?
By George Orwell.
Yes.
Mhm.
Good fucking book. Jackson, I know you
read
have.
1984.
I have. It's
Amazing
one of my
fucking book.
one of my favorite books ever.
I'm not sure exactly how accurate it is, but I read somewhere that 1984 was banned in America for a while for being pro-communism, and it was banned in the Soviet Union for being anti-communism.
That's the thing. I don't see how we could view that as pro-communism.
Just thinking.
Yeah,
People don't like thinking,
especially the American government.
Especially, yeah.
But I mean, George
Yeah.
Orwell was a communist. So,
Was he?
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, but did he not? Is
That's why he
Animal
wrote-
Farm not like a statement on why?
it's a direct allegory for Soviet.
Yeah, like
Soviet Union.
100%.
He-
Everything lines up.
Yeah,
His
like-
problems with the Soviet Union were how authoritarian it was. That's like with 1984, he may have been, he definitely leaned more libertarian,
Mhm.
like in terms of like he was very anti-government.
Yeah.
from my understanding, which is like obviously 1984 with Ingsoc, Big Brother is watching, all of that whole thing. Obviously very anti-government.
Yeah, it's not like a new thing to claim that the Soviet Union wasn't true communism. Like, that's like the first thing they'll tell you in history when you go over it is like, it was set up and it was called communism, but it is not communism.
Where are you being taught that?
What do you mean?
I've always been told in school that the USSR is the peak example of communism failing. That's just a typical American propaganda.
Yeah, no, I will agree with Colin. People are like, look, this is communism. This is why it doesn't work.
Yeah, the U.S. education system has used the USSR as an example for why communism doesn't work for years. It's revisionist. Marxist-Leninism and certainly Stalinism isn't real communism. It's revisionist.
That's literally all I've ever heard is that the Soviet Union is not real communism.
Really?
I've had one history teacher for all of high school, and I'm probably gonna have him again next year, my senior year.
Are you sure
so.
he's not like a secret radical leftist?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's actually rather right leaning.
Oh, really?
Who?
Interesting.
Cook.
Amazing teacher.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He played Vestavia. He's in
Yeah.
the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
I've always been taught in school and stuff that like the USSR, China, Vietnam are all like peak examples of why communism doesn't work.
Yeah. It's like with
Bees. Sorry.
it's like with socialism, there was like some South American country that like fucking failed, but there's so many other countries on earth that do socialism to some degree. Which there was something my friend told me recently, and it was like he described socialism as capitalism with ethics,
Well,
and I think that's pretty cool.
modern the definition of socialism has been incredibly distorted, but the original Marxist definition of socialism is the workers. It's pretty much interchangeable with communism. It's just where the workers own the means of production, and everything's publicly owned.
You know what's interesting? We prefaced the podcast with no politics.
I feel like it just naturally switched.
It did for sure. But it's
To be fair, we're not exact. I'm not like
Yeah,
advocating anything.
yeah.
I'm talking.
You're not talking about.
Yeah, I'm not talking about like my beliefs. I'm just talking about like facts, and that the facts are that the USSR was not communist.
I feel like we should talk about spirit flutes. Jackson, do you want to talk about spirit flutes?
I'd be cool with talking about spirit flutes.
So, should we discuss the comments that you left on the video?
Oh yeah, we can.
So, I'll pull them up
It's
while
really
you.
one comment that I posted 20 times.
Yeah. So please just start talking about the album, and I'll pull it up.
Right. So some backstory. Me and Will, we were at work. We were bored as hell because boring job.
This was back at the.
Thrift store.
Yep.
Yes, the nameless, faceless thrift store with made-up names for employees. But we were there, and we found a CD called Spirit Flutes, and I don't know what drew me to it, but we popped it in the work computer.
I was drawn to it. I was like, Jackson, we gotta play this.
Yeah, popped it in. Sure as can be, it is about 50 minutes of flutes and like very little else.
57 minutes and 56 seconds.
Yeah, so about an hour of just flutes. It's playing one note at a time, and there's only about 4 or 5 notes total. And it's just really, really repetitive, but we listened to that for like probably 2 or 3 shifts.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 full 8-hour shifts.
Yeah. And there were some parts where like they would just go nuts on the fucking flute. And,
Yeah.
like, those were like the only parts that stood out because everything else is like, yeah, like holding out a note for like 5 or 6 seconds long and then changing after that.
Yeah.
And it's clearly like a scam. Like this dude recorded something.
Oh, his name was David R.
Miracle.
Yeah. Miracle.
It's like Miracle, but wrong. But,
Yeah. And the album cover is a bunch of teepees. And so looking at the album cover, you would be like, oh, a Native American probably produced this album. You look it up, it's just some fucking white dude. Like, I feel like there's some sort of like cultural appropriation happening there. And then it also says like featuring
his brother.
Yeah, it's literally just his brother, and it's in track. It's one song, and like there's no way to tell that like it's literally anything different. But here's one comment from 2 years ago.
Oh boy.
Oh my God, it's been at least 15 years since I've heard this, and I still love and remember every note. Someone literally said, I remember every note.
Yeah, all four of them.
Yeah. A comment left by an individual named Jackson, you're insane. And then a local, a friend, Gabe, said, you remember every note because there are 3, dumbass. and the person, oh wait, no, someone else actually
I just
responded
want to
to
go
that.
ahead and leave an editor's note. I am gonna like splice in like a few seconds of the album.
The funny side up bot presents stirred flutes by a white dude. This concludes the best part of the stirred flutes.
Okay, cool. Let's see. You didn't leave a comment on that one.
When are you guys gonna have Gabe on the podcast?
Never.
Really?
I know there's one with a lot of replies. Okay. 2 years ago, this lady named Rachel said, still have the CD, it's my favorite. Jackson commented, you're insane. This lady left a comment 2 years ago. Jackson responds 8 months ago, and not too long after, also 8 months ago,
It was like on our lunch break.
at Jackson. Why? Because I enjoy beautiful flute music? I would call myself musically bipolar. It means I love everything from classical music to native drumming and flute music to punk rock to rap. That's not musically bipolar. That's like, bipolar means you shift from one thing to another, like 2 poles.
Yeah.
That's just musically like interested. Like,
very broad spectrum.
yes. And Jackson responds, the problem is this is not good. She responds, what's good flute music in your opinion? I'm always open to new music. Jackson responds, take flute out of the equation. I come in and say, like, this was all within a couple days.
Yeah.
I respond to Jackson and say, you've made a pretty good point. And Jackson responds, I'm right. And then Gabe comes in. Gabe comes in with, you were stupid, and I agree with Jackson. This stupid song with about 3 notes. The only thing good about the CD is that you have the option to burn it. And he's not meaning make a copy. He's meaning burn it in a fire.
Into the fire pit it goes.
She responds, I'm stupid because I like a CD I got as a gift in the 90s. LMAO, what's stupid is you felt the need to leave a dumbass comment. Go fuck yourself. And she directed that at Gabe, not either of us. And then,
to be fair, Gabe came in swinging.
Yeah.
He was ready.
And then 3 months ago, like, she didn't respond to Gabe's second comment, which is kind of long, so I'm not gonna read it. Jackson said, come back. And then a few weeks later, if not the same day, he said, I miss you, it's 2021. And then she responded, Happy New Year, Jackson, LOL. And Jackson said, Happy New Year. So that one ended peacefully.
Yeah, I reconciled.
Yeah, we'll leave it there for that. But
I'm going to come back later and be like, hey, I changed my mind. Fuck you.
oh my gosh. Spirit of Flutes, it's a good memory that me and Jackson share, but
Yeah.
it is not good music. Like, I like a lot of people point to it as like a spiritual like thing for them,
Yeah.
which it's called spirit flutes, but I would understand that if it were like a legitimate like Native American like produced album, but like there's nothing spiritual about some white dude stealing the music of like hundreds of years ago.
Yeah. I had Will over at my house like 2 months ago, and I was like, check this out. And I placed like 3 long flute notes in FL Studio, and it sounded the exact fucking same, and it took me 20 seconds. It took longer to listen to it than it did to make it.
Yeah. And we were like, we've talked about just making an album
Yeah.
of Spirit Flute's mock album.
It would be so easy. I could have that done in like 10 minutes.
I bet you like people, if you just pointed people towards that like album that you make from that video, you would make sales. Like you honestly would make sales.
But then you're like selling your soul, because it's like, I don't care about any of this.
It's also once again cultural appropriation. Just for the fact of making fun of a dude that did it like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's parody or something.
Yeah, sarcasm.
Yeah, that's all irony.
Irony. That's in the blood.
You want to teach Will
Irony?
about Diogenes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Teach Will about Diogenes.
Who's Diogenes?
So Diogenes was this Greek philosopher who lived in. It's debated whether it was like a wash tub, a wine jug, or something. He lived in something on the streets of Athens, I believe.
Yeah.
And he basically he had a very unmaterialistic lifestyle, to the point where his only real possession was a wooden bowl that he at one point he saw a child drinking water out of his hands, and he felt like he had become selfish, so he got rid of the wooden bowl.
Did he give it to the kid?
No.
What an asshole.
I don't know.
He better have.
The thing about Diogenes is that he never actually produced any of his own writings like most major philosophers of that time.
Mhm.
Everything of him is basically secondhand.
Mhm.
But
So is he real? Like,
Yeah,
is there
he
any
was a
way to
real
prove
dude.
he's real?
The dude jerked off in public.
Is
We need
there-
to clarify that.
is there any way to prove that anyone from that time is real?
Dude,
Last Thursdayism.
yes,
Go!
last Thursdayism. I want to, let's talk about that, but continue on Diogenes.
Okay, so people called him a dog because they felt like he lived like a dog. So
Mhm.
in response to being called a dog, he started pissing on people that walked by.
He sounds like just a New York hobo.
But a badass one,
He was
because
ahead of his time.
I assume
Yeah.
you're familiar with the philosopher Plato.
Yeah, I know Plato.
So Plato was asked to describe a human in the
Play not to
simplest.
eat.
Huh?
Fun to play, not to eat.
Yeah.
So Plato was asked to describe a human in the simplest terms possible.
Mhm.
So he said, featherless biped.
And Diogenes said, me.
Keep in mind that they didn't know about like monkeys, kangaroos, stuff like that.
Man, get out of the fucking house. Go read a book.
Well, I mean, this is in Greece.
I know. I was kidding, Colin. Come on.
Diogenes plucked a chicken completely featherless,
Mhm.
and showed up to Plato's fucking academy, and held it up in the air and said, "Behold, a human."
Beautiful.
So
That's pretty badass.
the academy had to change the description of a human to a featherless biped with broad, flat nails, which I don't think Salmonella talked about in his video.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all are just stealing Salmonella's shit.
I'm not the one who brought him up.
You said, "Hey, let's talk about him."
I didn't say that.
Diogenes. But,
Rewind the tape, Jackson.
No,
Play.
don't.
Editor's note to himself.
Editor's note, do not do that. Make everyone think you're right.
But
Editor's note, Jackson is right.
another
Hey, if you're listening, rewind.
another interesting tale of Diogenes is I'm sure you're familiar with Alexander the Great.
I thought you were gonna say Shannara, but yes, I do.
I'm sure you're familiar with Alexander Shannara, the great leader.
Alexander Shannara of SoCal.
Yeah.
Alexander Shannara of SoCal, the great leader of Greece or whatever.
I've got to continue about this, but then I've got a story about Caesar in relation to
Okay.
Alexander.
So Alexander the Great was taught by Plato, I believe it was. Plato, probably.
His little preschool teacher.
But
Shapes.
so
Put the square
he was
peg in
very
the square.
familiar. Alexander the Great was very familiar with various philosophers and such, and he approached Diogenes. One story is that he approached Diogenes and asked, "Is there anything I can do for you?"
He bends over and puckers his asshole.
Is there anything I can do for you? To which Diogenes replies, "Yeah, get out of my son."
Damn. That's selfish. That's his son?
But another interpretation of that story is that Alexander the Great, which this one's more than likely fiction, but it is still really badass that people like
tell this story.
Yeah, from the perspective of Diogenes. Another interpretation of the story is that Alexander the Great approached Diogenes while he was looking through a pile of bones, and asked, "What are you doing?" or something, and he said, "I'm trying to distinguish I'm trying to find your father's bones and the bones of these slaves," or something along those lines.
Damn.
Something like that. I'm just gonna keep going on about all these cool things Diogenes did. He's so cool, Mike.
Okay, let me talk about Caesar. Julius Caesar,
Right.
one of the greatest rulers of all time.
Right.
I've got him on my left arm just because he's a cool guy.
Right.
He apparently he was leaving some forum or something, like a building, and he walks out and he's with like his right hand man, not Brutus, but like just some scribe or some shit, and he walks out. And he falls to his knees in front of a statue of Alexander the Great, and he begins like crying, like absolutely like sobbing. And the guy that he's with is like, why are you crying? Like, you know, literally the ruler of like the entire known world at the time was crying in front of the statue, and Caesar goes, I believe he said, "I'll never be as great as this man."
Right.
And that's deep.
Who was that?
Caesar. Caesar cried,
Referring to
Alexander the Great,
Yeah.
which is interesting because Caesar achieved so much in his lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
And still,
Died like a bitch.
Yeah, felt as though he wasn't as good as his predecessor.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a very human thing. I think we all, you know.
I want to talk about the pronunciation of Caesar.
Kaiser.
Yeah, I just love saying Kaiser.
I do too. I call Little Caesars Little Kaisers.
Yeah, it's just so fun to say.
But is Kaiser not inherently just like referring to like that's the German pronunciation, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm like 90% certain it is.
I feel like Kaiser is a word in German. I could be wrong.
No, I'm pretty sure Kaiser is.
Von Kaiser is a fucking boxer from Punch Out from Germany.
Kaiser is the German form of Caesar.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've talked about this on here, but did you know that Hitler viewed the Third Reich as the Third Reich is the Third Reich is Nazi Germany. The Second Reich was might have been like the fucking Bolshevik Revolution or something, and then
Bolshevik Revolution.
I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
I don't think that's accurate.
The First Reich was the Holy Roman Empire, in Hitler's eyes.
Fair.
Like
something funny about Caesar. I think it was Caesar. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Caesar. So at that time period, bisexuality was very common. And people who didn't like Caesar spread that when Caesar was with a guy, he got fucked in the ass. So I'll let it be known that Julius Caesar is a bottom.
Yeah, and he's on my left arm.
Will, do you get fucked in the ass?
No, I don't. I do it.
He's lying.
Will's a power bottom.
No. I don't have gay sex.
One last story about my great hero Diogenes, the father, one of the fathers of cynicism. So he was in this town, and some army was coming to invade said town. So the populace started freaking out, running around crazy and such. So no, he wasn't masturbating.
I was doing the like world known hand symbol for jerking.
Diogenes got a barrel and started rolling it up a hill and watching it roll down and rolling it back up and watching it roll down.
He's
while
literally
people
just a
were
little
freaking
kid.
out. And people asked, why are you doing that? And he said, I'm being just as useful as you guys are. This guy was a badass.
Let's talk about last Thursdayism
I
now.
was about to say that just sounds like a waste of fucking time. Just rolling a barrel up a hill and letting it fall, hoping to God that someone's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I mean, I imagine people knew of this guy and were like, "This is fucking crazy Diogenes."
Man, look at him.
Yeah, no one's gonna question him rolling a barrel up and down a hill.
The thing about Diogenes, something funny, is that no one really knows how he died, but a popular theory of how he died is that he just got bored of living, so he held his breath.
I like that.
Oh yeah, and the last thing to mention, which is quite fitting because it's the end of his life, is that he insisted on just being tossed out to the wildlife
To give back what little he took from it.
Yeah,
That's respectful.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I want done with me. Just throw me out in the woods. Give me back to nature.
No one's gonna do that.
I know.
Your
I'll
parents
do
are
it.
gonna bury you.
no, I'm gonna steal his
If
body.
you put that in your will, could they like? I assume they legally couldn't. Like,
I mean, it
I mean-
depends on where you are.
If you look at the other extreme, it's like if you put "I want a $100,000 funeral" in your will, I don't think they have to do that.
yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, unless you're worth $100,000, then no one
Yeah,
gets
I guess
anything
so.
you're worth. Like, if they physically can, like, if you have the money allotted, there's nothing they can do about it. I don't think.
Completely unrelated thing, but there's this funny thing that people do in wills where they'll leave someone $1,
Mhm.
and a lot of people think it's just like as a joke or just to spite someone, but it's actually intentional. So that way, if you were to just leave them out, then they could like file a suit and claim that they were just forgotten out of the will, and they can actually get more that way.
Hmm.
So
I'm gonna leave all of y'all $1 at least.
Well, you can go fuck yourself.
At least, Jackson. My verbal will, if I die, not related to any accident caused or influenced by Jackson or Colin.
How would they know?
You get my podcast equipment.
That's
So-
it.
At least,
You mean the podcast equipment you got last Thursday when this world was created?
yes.
Yeah. And
Nice segue.
Good
Thank you,
segue.
thank you.
Yeah, no, very good.
Thank you.
So yeah, last Thursdayism. Colin, do you want to? I assume you can probably give the best off the top.
I mean,
Definition.
it's not exactly a super complicated theory.
Well,
It's
then
just-
give it to us.
it's
Give it
just
to
the-
us.
Shut the. F-
Colin, give it to us.
It's just
Give-
basically the idea that everything was created a short time ago, and just our memories were pre-installed.
yeah, like you can't prove otherwise. It's like any
It's like any other thing that.
theory of creation.
Yeah, you can't disprove it.
Yeah.
But Occam's razor, the
mean
simplest, huh? Occam,
Yeah.
Arkham.
There's also
Batman.
Hitchens razor that can be. Fuck, I'm dumb. Hold on.
Yeah,
give
you
me a
are.
second. That which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
So last Thursdayism.
Pretty much.
Okay, I swear that. So Elon Musk, in like a TED talk, was asked what is the probability that we are in base reality, like that we're not living in a simulation.
He believes in simulation theory.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he does. He
was
believes
like, it's unbelievably small.
yeah, that we are in base reality.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree.
I want to know the figures behind that. I want to know how like
I want to know how
we
that's
can collect-
calculatable.
Yeah.
Well, the example he used is how, like, in such a short span of time, we went from Pong to rectangles in a circle to, like, ultra realistic VR type stuff.
That's just
in a really short
well,
amount of
my
time.
issue with that is that it's like that's actually pretty predictable. People already knew the number of transistors on a fucking circuit board were doubling every 18 months. Like that doesn't happen anymore.
But do you not think that eventually we'll be able to simulate something like us?
No, I totally believe we could, but it's like the rate of technology does have diminishing returns. Like we're no longer doubling the number of transistors every 18 months. That was just a thing from like when they were first starting to be created to, I want to say that stopped in like 2015. It's
Mhm.
pretty recent, but No, like we are. I'm not going to say approaching the end of technology or anything like that. That'd be an absurd claim, but
We're definitely like progress is slowing down.
yeah. So like to not only have something powerful enough to simulate one thing,
Entire life.
yeah, to simulate all of life, but not only that, to simulate like inception levels of continuing that.
Okay, arguably, it wouldn't be that complicated. You could argue that that one's perception is the only legitimate, like, or the only actual perception, or the only actual thing being
And
simulated.
everything else are NPCs.
Yes. So, like, for instance, I know the name of that belief, but I can't.
There's
it
a word for your own perceptible reality.
is the only reality.
No. I mean just like in general, like
Oh,
the world as you see it, and like because you don't see the world as it is, you see it like 80 milliseconds ago or whatever.
yeah,
and all of
yeah.
that.
We talked about that.
Yeah, it's like there's a word for it, for reality as you perceive it, and there's like different layers of it. Like first layer is actual reality, and then second is how you perceive it, and third is whatever. But yeah, no. I realize I'm fighting a losing battle trying to counter a claim by Elon fucking Musk. Like that is
Solipsism.
solipsism.
Yeah, it's called solipsism. That it's like the only reality is what's in your mind. But essentially, like anything that I'm not perceiving, in the belief of solipsism, it doesn't exist. So like our friend Gabe,
Mhm.
I'm not currently like perceiving him
Because he's not here.
because he is not present. He is not here. So hypothetically, right now,
He
If-
doesn't exist.
exactly. And next time I see him, everything that happened up to that point with him,
Catches up.
exactly.
And it's like when you're in a video game and you go into one room, the previous room no longer exists.
It unloads.
Exactly.
And isn't that how Minecraft is? It's like anything that you're looking at.
the chunks.
Exactly. Any chunk that is not currently visible is not loaded.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's also like just in terms of like normal 3D graphics, not drawing things that aren't visible right now. It's just called culling, and it's very very common. If you actually drew everything that was within your field of view, it would be like marginally slower.
Yeah.
So
And so by that, like
yeah, and,
by that view, life could be a simulation. But for someone to make a simulation just to simulate a single person's perspective,
yeah, and that's what I was thinking about. Are we talking about simulation of a civilization or of like an individual? Like what's the scale here? You
see
know?
if it's a simulation of like the 7 billion people on Earth.
Yeah, almost 8 now.
Yeah, who's to say that? I mean, like, it could be processed in a much different manner, where, like, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to be able to, or not researched enough to be able to talk about this and sound smart, you know. But it's definitely a very thought-provoking, like, situation.
Something about simulation theory is like I'm a little bit biased because I don't believe in an afterlife or anything like that.
Mhm.
But from my perspective, does it really fucking matter if we're in a simulation or not?
No, I don't think it does. I don't think if we're in a simulation, everything you've believed prior to today,
It's real to us, and that's all that matters.
exactly.
Even if we are just lines of code in a script, it's still real to us.
Yes, today, if the fucking Matrix owner, like whoever runs the simulation, if they poked their head out and said, "Hey, it's a simulation. I just want you all to know that."
Chaos would ensue.
Go about your day. I don't think it would.
It absolutely would.
I don't think it would.
So many people's. That's destroying pretty much everyone's perception of reality, especially religious people.
True.
That's just
But-
destroying so many people's perception.
But would that,
of
okay?
what
Would
is.
there not? Would every religion not just? I don't see. That's the thing. I don't think every religion would be like. People would dismiss it. That's what they would do.
I don't think so, because you're learning. For us, maybe But like, think about the average person. If you went up to the average person and showed them that everything they love, everything they hold dear, everything they know doesn't exist, they
And then
would
you said-
lose it.
But if you said there's nothing you can do about it, go on about your day. Like,
That's-
don't even think about it.
That doesn't
Okay,
matter.
yeah, no. People,
I feel like most people, like even if you had hard evidence, they would be in hard denial.
that's what I'm saying.
Like,
They would either just flat out deny it,
yeah,
or they would be like, they would either flat out deny it, become super depressed, or just acknowledge it and go on about their life because there's nothing they can do about it.
There's
Yeah.
nothing they can do about it, but that doesn't change the fact that they're gonna freak the fuck out.
me personally, if I was presented with that, I would live my life normally, but it would always be in the back of my mind. I would.
don't-
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I would be living my best life, and like I'd be having a great time, and then I would be like, "It's not real."
I think that's
it's like when you're having a good dream. It's like,
it's not real.
yeah,
Okay, a lot of people probably disagree with this lifestyle, but I already live my life with the knowledge that nothing I do will matter. So
why
like,
haven't you killed anyone?
no
Morals.
morals exactly.
Now that is a callback.
I'm good at those. That's
But,
one of the things
like-
I'm best at.
Like I said, I already live my life knowing that nothing I do will matter in the long term. So like, it's the whole "I'm here for a good time, not a long time" mentality. I'm just
See-
here trying to have some fun, man.
Yeah, which that's what I try and do, but I try and also, be somewhat impactful or like help people, like, because why not? Like people, that's my how I see things is people are going through shit. Like everyone's going
Yeah,
through their
I'm
own
not
shit.
saying you
Yeah,
shouldn't help people.
Yeah,
but-
exactly. I'm just saying,
Right.
like personally, like my philosophy is like, I'm going through shit. Everyone is,
Absolutely.
but like, why we don't have to go through the shit alone?
Yeah, for sure.
Which is why I love my friends so much, is because I think we've all gotten to the point where we're just open about the shit we go through, which everyone should be, and I feel like most people are with their friends. I would say-
I feel like everyone, even if it's just subconsciously, covers up a lot.
But I feel like subconsciously you also want to let it out,
Right.
and that's how I am. Like I've gotten to the point where I recognize that most people are like that. People want someone to tell their issues to. That's why relationships typically, like, they work like that. If you're in a relationship, do you not like tell your significant other like what burdens you, like
Yeah,
your
right.
your past, like everything that has brought you to the point where you are now? Like I feel like it's healthy to be able to. That's why fucking therapists exist.
Yeah, no, holding that shit in
It does more harm.
destroy you.
Yeah, that will break you.
If you keep bottling up and if you keep letting it bottle up and bottle up, eventually that bottle's gonna crack and just shatter.
This is a weird topic for a podcast called Funny Side Up.
We were laughing 20 minutes ago,
Yeah.
Side up.
but I also want to say, like, there are individuals who don't think about that for sure. Like there are people that they don't just dwell on all the bad shit that's happened to
that's
them.
weird to think about. There are people who can live an entire 80-year life and like never be depressed. Like
Yeah.
they don't even know what it's like. Like I'm
Which,
sure
there-
people have
we-
bad days.
Yeah,
But
but
to
we're
actually-
not saying that like everyone who is. There are definitely people. There are people who are 80 and have been through shit,
Yeah.
and they come out with a very like they don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
They
Like-
keep moving, and I feel like that's what people have to do. You can't dwell on all the bad shit that's happened to you, but so many people do it.
Yeah,
And
I know a lot of people. I know people in my family and like just other older people that like they just can't live. You know?
they can't move on from
yeah.
something that happened, or
And I think it gets more difficult the older you get, where it's like, if you're like 50 and you're just struggling to make it through a day, then it's really, really difficult to get the help you need. But yeah, you were talking about friends earlier, and there's this idea I've expressed with a lot of people, and pretty much everyone agrees with it to some extent, that you are just an amalgamation of your friends. like all your mannerisms, like the way you joke, the way you conduct yourself, you are just all of your friends combined.
Well, that's also the theory that there's never been an original thought, or there are no longer original thoughts, because every thought that you have is influenced by something. Like
I made this flowchart one time that said you had a thought, and then it goes down and it says, did someone else have it first? And on the left it says yes, and it goes to this box, and on the right it says yes.
yeah,
And then it says creativity is impossible, you're going to hell.
yeah. That's I like that.
Going back to what Jackson said about everyone being an amalgamation of their friends, I don't think that's entirely true, because we are individuals. We have our own beliefs. We have our own personalities. But I do agree with the adoption of mannerisms from friends.
Yeah.
I've adopted a lot of different things from, like, especially Jackson.
I was gonna say, like, I pull a lot of things from Jackson. I will. If you met me 2 years ago before I met my best friend Blake, I am a completely different person from then. And it wasn't necessarily an adoption of things from him, but it was him having just a general influence on my personality and everything.
I've had it brought up how often I said fascinating on the previous podcast.
Yeah.
And Jackson was very surprised to learn that I pretty much adopted that from him.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I've never noticed Jackson say fascinating.
He said it a lot around me. I think he picked it up from Vsauce, though.
Maybe not Vsauce. I don't know.
Essentially, nothing is original that we do.
Yeah.
Right.
My two main influences for the things that I say, surprisingly enough, are Alex Ward, because he just says,
He doesn't say much.
Yeah, first of all, the less you say, the more your words are worth.
Yeah.
But also, like,
Might want to censor the last name.
I don't know if he cares.
Okay.
I don't even know if he watched. He'll be fine. He'll live.
We need to send him the podcast.
Yeah. I asked him I asked Drew if he listened to it. He said no. But
Fuck Drew.
yeah.
Drew's never coming on. I hope he hears that.
Fuck you, Drew.
I like you, Drew.
Yeah, Drew's pretty cool.
Love you, Drew.
I went to McDonald's with you last night, Drew. Never forget that. Alex Ward just has like all of these really old idioms that he says, like
kick rocks.
yeah, not
Kick rocks, pal.
He didn't say that, but like
Pal.
Go fry an egg, bucko.
I was looking up idioms. That's how I found that one.
Go fry an egg.
Yeah, I found that one like a year ago, and I was like, that is the best.
Pick up sticks.
Yeah, I got kick rocks from iDubbbz.
Yeah.
But like you can tell that like he hangs around like old people a lot,
Yeah.
like his grandpa and stuff, because like
Grandpap.
yeah, because like there's this kid. His name is also Will. You remember him from our grade, not the shitty rapper, but like the big dude. Last
Yeah.
name also began with a W.
Yeah, dude. He's a cool dude. I like him.
Yeah, he went up to Alex Ward, and keep in mind, this dude's like 2 inches taller than Alex. So he was just like looking at him. He was like, "I'm gonna beat the shit out of you."
Really?
Yeah, he was just joking though.
Okay.
And Alex was like, "Yeah, I'll knock your block off, dude." Like-
but okay. I think we laugh so hard. Like, that's not a thing that someone would really find funny, but I just picture the way he said it,
It's
because
something you don't hear anymore.
I've heard that quite often, but I think it's because of where we're from.
yeah,
But the way he speaks is what I was thinking of.
he's
Because
so cool, calm, and collected. That's a good way of putting it.
could you do an impression of him saying, "Well, I'll knock your block off"?
Probably not.
I'm gonna
I
beat.
can't do it.
Okay.
I've never heard Alex talk.
He would go, "Oh, I'll knock your block off." Which
I was gonna do
that's
something like, "I'll knock your block off."
When you say it like that, that sounds like the fucking
Beavis.
No, I was
sarcasm
thinking
to
the cartoon rendition of Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. No, that is kind of.
I wonder if I can call him right now and like.
Yeah, do it. Have a mini feature, but no, Alex Ward is an amazing dude.
Yeah, dude, he just has like a wealth of like just like he seems to have an idiom for like every situation, or like he's just good at phrasing things sometimes.
Yeah,
Like, and it's like small things where you really don't notice it until you like talk to him for a while.
yeah.
But yeah, let's see. I'm dialing him up right now.
Watch him not answer.
Yeah, he probably won't.
Let him know that he's on the podcast whenever you answer.
Okay.
But no, I've definitely picked up a lot of things from you in the time we've been friends. But that is just I do agree with you to an extent on.
Hey Alex, we're recording an episode of the podcast right now, and I was talking about how one time you told a fellow named Will you were gonna knock his block off, and we were just wondering if you'd like to give a voice demonstration for us.
I don't know if I remember it.
No, just
that
say
well.
just say I'll knock your block off.
I'll knock your block off.
Yeah.
There you go, folks.
Wait, can you say, I'll knock your block off, buddy?
I'll knock your block off, buddy.
Say kick rocks, kid.
Do what?
Kick rocks, kid.
Kick rocks, kid.
One more, can you say, go fry an egg, bucko?
Go fry an egg, bucko.
The way he said that one, yeah.
That was great.
Thanks, Alex. You've been a big help.
Hey, no problem.
All right, I'll catch you later, man.
Alright, later.
Bye-bye.
It's just the way his voice is
Yeah.
like
Perfect.
he's a beautiful man. Yeah.
He's got that thing where like he talks so little, and like if you see him in a group he's like not talking, but you ask anyone, they're just like, yeah, I love that dude. Like,
yeah.
literally everyone in our friend group is that way.
Yeah. Which it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's so hard for like there to actually be someone like that. Like I would say Colton is like that, where it's like everyone in our friend group
Yeah.
loves him.
That's a different thing though.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
because-
It's a different version of that.
Yeah, Colton talks a lot, but like he's just a good dude. And
Yeah.
I feel like he's helped everyone at least once in one way or another.
Yeah. He's selfless,
Yeah.
which I can definitely say everyone that I've considered a friend wouldn't say that about me.
Yeah.
I know probably both of you could say the same thing,
Yeah.
where it's like we're disliked by people, but it's fascinating that people can just friend groups can have people that are like just foundations, which is basically how I would describe both Colton and Alex.
Yeah.
Is like an anchor towards the entire friend group. It's like if they weren't there, like it would still be a friend group, but like with them, it's just this whole other like thing.
Yeah.
Conglomeration.
I was gonna say oh yeah, no. As soon as I moved to new school,
That's why I held my mic up really high. You dumbass. I'm just kidding.
yeah, fuck you. As soon as I moved to new school, right?
Mhm.
I
SoCal University
yes.
High School.
the fuck are you saying?
That's where
I
we.
was in middle school when I moved.
Okay, well, I graduated from SoCal University High School.
Yeah, okay, well you're just a fucking idiot. Anyway.
Okay, we'll kick rocks.
Okay, well, you don't go to SoCal University High School.
Yeah, I don't. I go to SoCal.
High school
I
university.
go to SoCal.
Yeah, Colin doesn't go to our school.
Yeah, Colin goes to the school that I used to go to.
SoCal. SoCal.
SoCal.
SoCal.
Suck ass.
But yeah,
University.
literally like
That's
day
where I
one.
learned.
Anarchism.
No, that's where I learned how to suck ass.
With a straw?
Yeah.
Can I talk?
Yes.
But yeah, day one that I moved there, there were already people that fucking hated me, right? And like I remember going through the year, I was like in the second quarter, and I was like counting down the number of people who didn't hate me anymore. Like I had a checklist in my mind, like this person still hates me, this person doesn't anymore. And soon enough, it was down to a select few, and I just grew to accept the fact that these select people would never fucking like me, and that's fine. I just I started off on the wrong foot, and I got to deal with that for 5 more years. So, or I had to at the time. I only have 1 more year in high school, but yeah.
We you came in 7th grade, right?
Yep.
And then whenever
Well,
you
I came in a lot of grades.
I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, this guy.
But no, do you want to talk about our very early interactions in high school?
Yeah.
Because whenever I was first introduced to you was at Colton's party, his birthday party. I went to it and we played Super Brawl.
Brawl Smash.
No, do you know what I'm talking about? The soccer game.
Super Mario Strikers.
Yes, that.
Yeah.
Me and him played that, and that's what I refer to as mine and Colton's best friend moment.
Yeah.
There's a view that I have that everyone you will eventually hit this point or you never will, where you have a best friend moment where like what?
There's this moment and it will
okay,
happen to
fuck
or
you.
it won't.
Fuck you. It will or won't. But like I assume both of you could like trace your friendship back to a single moment that is when you like really became good friends, like you really considered the other a best
I
friend.
played a shitty Steam game with him in like 6th grade called Who's Your Daddy on Steam. So
Colin?
yeah.
Is that when you
No, I wouldn't say that. That's just what I remember.
Okay, but like
I fucking hated that game.
it might
was great.
it might not be the same for both of you, but I've always noticed that with my friends, there are what I call my best friend moment with them. With Colton, it was the Super Smash Brothers Strikers, Super Mario Strikers.
A few moments come to mind, but there's one very in specific.
With Jackson?
I'll tell you.
Okay. But yeah, me and Colton.
When you sucked my dick.
I was hoping you wouldn't say it.
But with Colton, I was always friends with him, but I was acquaintances. I would always yell coleslaw when he was walking down the school hall.
Did.
Yeah, but I did it like I would never have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
But he would be walking down the hall and I'd go coleslaw, and like I would just yell at him. I would just yell his name, and that was it. And he had no clue who I was. He was friends with Wyatt and Dallin and all them.
Mm-hmm.
But he still invited me to his party.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had talked a few times. I think we were friends by that point. And I always felt like he was closer to Wyatt than he was to me.
Yeah.
But I consider that to be our best friend moment because it was the first time we ever like hung out, just me and him, and we chilled, and it's just something I always look back to as the beginning of our friendship. I would say one of the early ones for us is your high school experience with me at the beginning, and then us making bra moment. But go ahead and long story short to lead into.
Oh, I don't have anything to say.
No, about the high school.
High school. Oh, you just want me to tell that?
Yeah.
So was I in 9th grade?
Yeah, you were in 9th grade.
Okay, yeah. So it was like the very beginning of my freshman year, and like, of course, Will sat like we had a bunch of tables that were just oriented parallel to one another, and then we had 2 that were perpendicular to all of those, and that's where the cool kids sat because they were seniors. So I like sat down at like one of the normal tables, like a chump with all my friends.
No, you sat on the. It's like 4 tables lined up together, or like 8.
Yeah.
They're fold out tables that are. They've got seats on them and they stand up vertically. But they're long essentially.
Yeah.
My group sat at one end, and Jackson and his group happened to sit at the very other end. So he sat all the way across the lunchroom.
Well,
But
actually, not at first. We sat at the normal tables at first. Out
Yeah.
In front of that.
okay.
And then Will came up to me and he was like, "Hey, little slaw, you can come sit over here." And I was like, "Really?"
Yeah.
And then I get my food. I go sit over there, and I was at the end because I was really cool. Will did not know me by this point, really. He just knew that I was Colton's brother. All my friends were over there, and we just started talking for a while. I added him on Discord. I can't remember through what means, but we were just talking about my music one night, and he was like, "You ever make a rap song?" And I was like, "I've tried some before, but not really." Long story short, I shit out this thing called Lil Pump Has Ass Cancer.
Yeah.
And I sent it to Will, and he was like, "Yo, this is good." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And then he like recorded some ad libs. We didn't have any actual vocals.
It was just me saying A and yeah.
And Lil Orange, and
JB Kiv.
JV Kiv, yeah. And I like strung all those together, and it's still on my SoundCloud.
It's called Bra Moment.
Yeah, Bra Moment.
But what I was talking about more specifically was by the end of the year, I stopped hanging out with my friend group at lunch and would sit on the very end of the table with Jackson's friend group almost every day.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It was mostly me just going over there and hanging out with Jackson.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It just I had a much better time having lunch with y'all than who I was like friends with.
Yeah.
Mainly because of you, and that's what really solidified our friendship.
Yeah.
And Colin, my what I would consider my best friend moment with you is
Balloons.
I was
balloons.
gonna say, is it shoots?
It's Jackson abandoning us and us playing shoots.
Well, I abandoned you guys because you guys were
because you have a woman.
No, because I was fucking playing and like I would disconnect like every other
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
And then you guys would just keep on playing and I'm like, fine, I don't care. And then you guys would keep fucking sending screenshots saying disconnected. Yeah, real
Yep.
fucking funny. Laugh it up.
We made him mad.
Yeah.
But
A little.
but no, everyone has best friend moments to me.
Right.
And
that's my anti-friend moment with both of you. So
look, I treasure all of my best friend moments.
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Okay.
He
look-
treasures that one too.
Yeah. No. See, I know he doesn't mean it, and it makes my heart warm because he says it because he
No,
loves
I
me.
mean it. I'm going to fucking kill you.
Hey, dude, you're on recording. He's gonna cut it out. I'm recording on my phone. I'm gonna upload it myself.
I'm gonna slaughter both of these guys and we're gonna cut it all out. I'm gonna sign up for the podcast account and upload it.
Look, we'll be here next week. If
Your podcasts are just gonna be Jackson like doing different voices.
it's gonna be Jackson talking to himself.
It's gonna sound like New Vegas
His
Radio where I'm
descent
just
into
like
madness.
really sad and I play like Billy Joel's Piano Man on harmonica.
Has that ever been done? Has anyone ever like actually done a podcast?
I have like a schizophrenic podcast.
No, not even like even just like satirical, like as a joke, just a podcast where where they're just doing different voices talking to himself.
If you wanna,
be gender neutral.
if you want to record 20 minutes of yourself doing that, I'll upload it by itself on our channel. I'm not kidding. I'll do it. Colin.
Maybe
I may do it.
that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
The split personality
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, just I'll do that for like if we ever miss a week because of my work schedule, I'll upload that.
Right.
But yeah, so I actually think that's gonna be it for tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Have a good night. Have a good morning, whenever you're listening.
Thank these guys for having me on.
Oh yeah, love Colin. So glad he can make it tonight.
If you made it to this far in the podcast, comment.
Diogenes nuts with a capital D and N.
And don't forget to give us your input on whether or not cooking meth is a form of art.
Yeah.
Also, we're working on getting shirts made right now. We're waiting for Marcos to do the design, and as soon as he does that, I'm gonna reach out to everyone that I think wants a shirt or would want a shirt, ask them. And
Will has been bugging literally everyone that I know asking for shirt designs. So,
but we've come down to like 3, so he's gonna make the sketches, and then we're all gonna vote.
And I have very bad luck with relationships, but I've had several people say that if I wore a funny side up shirt, they would suck my dick.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I assume this is the case for everyone. If you wear a funny side up shirt, you're gonna get your dick wet or your pussy.
Hey,
dick wet or your pussy pounded.
Yeah. Equality.
That's
Equality.
the tagline on the shirt.
And if you have neither, then
You're gonna have your heart fulfilled.
I was gonna say asshole pounded, but if you want to go with that one, more power to you.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to the podcast.
Yes, Colin. We have to end every episode now. Hold the microphone so we can go and turn it off the
Hold the
recording.
microphone.
So yes, Colin. See, usually he has to yell at the microphone while he turns it off.
Da.
Yes.
Da.
Colin has shitty Eastern European accent,
Yeah.
and so he just says da.
Da.
Colin, say Diogenes nuts in Eastern European
I
accent.
don't think I can.
I hate you.
Diogenes
If-
nuts.
Okay, I was about to say he is never coming on the podcast again if he cannot, but he did it, so he's okay. Okie dokie. Just stop touching your nuts now. Turn it off. Turn it off. Stop the recording. Stop the recording.